Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the April 6th meeting of the Richmond Selectboard. Do we have any public comment? Mary Gould.
Hi there, Mary Hole. If you just indulge me on item N, I probably will be sleeping when you get to that item. But I'd like to give a recommendation for mow and maintain when you do your award for contracts for mowing. They're extremely courteous. They are very careful around the flowers that, I get wild over. But they've always done an excellent job. I think if they get the award this year, this will be their third year. And I probably should have written a letter with a recommendation, but I hope you choose them. Thank you.
Thanks. Any other public comment? Any additions, deletions, or modifications to the agenda? Okay. First item on the agenda is a reminder, an annual outreach for volunteers to apply to serve on town committees. I think we've covered this many meetings in a row. We were continually seeking volunteers for various committees and boards, etc. So if anyone's interested, there is a list on the town website, and the town manager would love to give you an explanation of what any of those involve, if you have any questions.
And April 8th is the deadline to get in on the current round for expiring terms. They expire at the end of May, except for water and wastewater, which has its own separate.
And then there's a lot of vacant seats also. So if someone is, if you are not in by the deadline, there is still room to fill vacant seats. Plenty of room.
Just, can spouses serve on the same committee?
I don't see why not.
I feel like we had this question before and I can't remember the answer. I don't think it goes against anything on the ethics policy.
Yeah.
I don't. At first pass, I don't think that there is a restriction on that.
Nothing off the top of our head says that you can't. I guess if it were to come up, Trevor, we would probably review the policy just for consistency, but next we have a reminder of a special meeting on April 16th regarding the vote to reconsider the traffic ordinance. This will be the second special meeting. And this one is actually, are we doing another actual meeting on the 16th?
Vote.
That's
the actual vote day.
Sorry.
So
it's phrased as a special
Yeah.
meeting is the way you technically have to call it.
So we're calling a special meeting. We had the informational meeting last week. This, the 16th is, I think how we've set it up is 16th is the last day to vote the special meeting, but there's early voting. So you can vote from any time from now until the 16th in the town office. Is there anything else to add about that?
Yeah, just right now, early voting is when the town clerk is open, which is Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and sorry, Monday through Thursday, 8 to 4, Fridays 8 to noon. On the 16th, which is the actual day of voting, the voting will be open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. also in the town clerk's office. And there's more information on the website about the actual question, and Suzanne, the clerk, has done a nice job of explaining what each vote means as far as stop signs. So I think that she's got some handy handouts.
Yeah, the wording was a little funky because of, statutorily how we have to word it. But I think the explanation that Suzanne put together sorts all that out. So take the time to read that to make sure that your vote is counting in the direction you would like it to. Next, we have an important announcement. Josh, would like to do this?
Sure. So
It's your decision. So.
yes, indeed. Pleased to announce that we've promoted Matthew Cohen to the position of Richmond Police Chief. Chief Cohen started serving with the Richmond Police Department in May of 2024 as a corporal. He was promoted to sergeant in May of 2025. In September of 2025, he was appointed as interim police chief. And in his nearly 2 years of working with the department, Chief Cohen has undertaken great initiative and provided leadership by working collaboratively with the Hinesburg Police Department, serving on the Police Governance Committee, researching and presenting options for policing for the future of Richmond Police Department to the Select Board, creating a police department stabilization and recruitment action plan, hiring officers to begin to rebuild the department, engaging with the community regarding interacting with federal agents, and along with his comfort canine Duke, has led the community style of policing throughout Richmond. So look forward to continuing to work with Chief Cohen and Duke. Thank you, and congratulations on your promotion to chief.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. I would add commendable as well as efforts at janitorial improvements to the police station itself.
I've heard considerable feedback from people about your tenure as our acting chief, and it's been very positive. it's all been positive. So I look forward to working with you, and congratulations.
Well, I appreciate that. And I actually have a quick statement, if you don't mind. It is a profound honor to be appointed as your next chief. I want to extend my gratitude to the select board and the residents of Richmond for placing your trust in me to lead the department. Richmond is a special community defined by its vibrant spirit and strong connections. My commitment is to you is one of transparent, approachable, and proactive leadership. Together, we will build one on the department's solid foundation to ensure a safe, inclusive, and welcoming environment for everyone who lives, works, and visits our beautiful town. I'm eager to hit the ground running, listen to your priorities, and work alongside our dedicated officers to navigate a path ahead. The future of the Richmond Police Department is incredibly bright, and I am proud to serve as your chief.
Great. Fantastic. Thank you, Chief Cohen.
I think we're working for on a swearing in April
29th.
29th.
Yes.
So we'll make an announcement about that too. If anybody would like to attend the swearing in, I think right now it's April 29th at 3 p.m. is our date. But it'd be great to have a few people there,
Is that gonna be here?
right here. Yep.
I would just add that I was very impressed over the last year with the initiative you showed, coming to us with solutions to problems that we were only beginning to be aware of. And, instead of coming to explain problems to us, you came and gave us a presentation with potential solutions and roadmap to where we want to be. And I was very impressed. So I think if you continue that trajectory and
Yep.
live up to, 2 positions above where you are at, we're really lucky, proud, and happy to have you. So thanks for being here.
Well, thank you guys for putting your trust in me again. And like I said, we'll keep working towards our goals.
Great. Yeah, so along those lines, the next item, we have a discussion with the newly appointed Chief Cohen regarding Richmond Police Department's role if there were to be a protest regarding an action with ICE agents in Richmond and also outside of Richmond if they were to be called as mutual aid, right?
Correct. So obviously we've been monitoring what has been happening around the state as well as around our community. I've been receiving feedback from community members and watching what other law enforcement agencies have been doing in regards to the fair and impartial policing policy when it comes to ICE related incidents. I would want to say incidents, maybe not enforcement. And realistically, we're looking at what happened on March 11th in the protest during that time frame and the decisions that were made by law enforcement leaderships for the department-wide. I'm not really looking at individual officer actions per se, but what decisions were made for a department and where to lead. Want to look at more feedback from our department and where to lead our officers. When I looked at March 11th in particular, it looks like we see that law enforcement chose to maintain public safety during a really hostile and tense moments between protests and ICE agents, where law enforcement decided to be in the middle between ICE and protesters and be a barrier in between. That it falls within our fair and impartial policing policy. As soon as that search warrant and the federal search criminal investigation happened. So there's 2 levels of this. Remember when I gave a presentation to you guys, we had the civil side of a detainer and the criminal side of a warrant. As soon as that warrant took place and the judge said there's a warrant, that's when local law enforcement, the policy says we can provide aid. Or we have to get out of the way. Those are kind of our 2 options. Some of the feedback I've received from community members, I actually want to get more open feedback from community members, was the expectation that law enforcement might step in between ICE and civilians and prevent ICE from doing their actions and their job and what they've been tasked to do. One piece I got to put out, we kind of can't do that. We can't kind of put our law enforcement officers in between federal government and our civilians, that's against the law for us and we actually get arrested. So I want to make sure that we were 100% clear that if someone calls us and asks us to be in the middle to stop ICE from doing their actions, we can't do that step. And then lastly, I kind of want to put out to where do we want our officers, our department to be if something were to happen in town? And where can I get the feedback to direct our people? Because we can follow our policy as it's written and be in that middle between in crowd control, which really where law enforcement was, or local law enforcement was crowd control, as be that middle crowd control for public safety. We can take the step back and be on the outside of the crowd and just be traffic control around the crowd, that step back. Right now, just give you a heads up of where I've directed our officers. If another town asks for mutual aid during a public safety event like this, I direct our officers to provide that mutual aid, but only to do either outside traffic control on the outside of an incident, or by providing mutual aid by covering other calls for service that might come in for a town while their officers are tied up, but not to get in the middle of the crowd control part of it. But if this happens inside our town, where do we want our officers to be? It's right now, as policy would be, we'd be in the middle of the traffic control of the crowd control. So, open floor plan, go.
I have one comment, and to be fair, I wasn't a close student or observer of what police officers did. But one of the things that I heard or read was that there were officers without their badges and faces revealed. And that's one of the things that, from what little I know about de-escalation, you want to like present as a human as opposed to dehumanized, including, I think, wearing your badge in a visible fashion and not covering your face arbitrarily to hide your identity.
Yeah, and that's definitely something we can direct our officers to say, hey, if you're out there in the community, you need to be known who you are. You provide your name, you provide make sure your name tag is on your vest and visible. Make sure your badge is on, your face is shown, especially if it's safe to do so. You know, if some other agency, we don't have it, but if other agencies are using gas masks and, but it's not safe for us to be out there without it. So we need to cover our face for that purpose like that. But honestly, I just want to put, if we're in the middle of that, we probably shouldn't be to begin with, but sometimes we have to be.
I've said before that I acknowledge that ICE and Customs and Border Protection have been in Vermont for decades. They do provide an important service in protecting the United States from infiltration via Canada, and it's a very busy string of stations along that border. They do have an important role to play in the community, but I think some of what I observed on March 11th, state troopers, Burlington Police, South Burlington Police, and then the principal agencies involved. There was a substantial presence of people, and when I see uniformed officers throwing civilians to the ground for protesting, I think that crosses a line. I think the use of percussion grenades and CX gas canisters, basically tear gassing people or using rubber bullets, any of those sort of non-lethal means. I don't think it's appropriate for ICE to do that, and I certainly would instruct our local officers to not participate in that kind of behavior, that kind of escalation. Mm-hmm. We really appreciate that you're well outnumbered in these situations. It can be pretty scary, but I would hope your team would be trained to try to calm the situation down. We've had ongoing protests here in town every Friday at the Park and Ride. Mm-hmm. It's been incident free. If you look at the people who show up to protest, they're all my age or older. It's not a young radical group. It's
Old radical.
It's an old radical group. Well, no, I don't think there's anything radical about wanting to insist that they observe the niceties of the Constitution. So I sincerely hope, even though we are within 100 miles of the border, they have legal jurisdiction to be here. I would hope that you not get caught up in the moment. And, and I know that there are people in the crowd who may want to goad officers into action. But that's what your training is about, is to stay cool in those situations. I think people are going to continue to protest. It's going to happen. I really hope it doesn't come here, but we have farms, it could. So I really appreciate the difficult position you're in. And this is one of those things where maintaining the peace is probably the prime directive. That if obviously if a protester breaks the law, there should be consequences for that. But at the same time, I think if purported law enforcement officers are breaking the law, there should be consequences for that as well. I don't know how to address that. I don't think that's your role to start arresting ICE agents if they misbehave. But I just would really hope that you don't get drawn into the melee. We only have one chief and a few officers. We really hire you to keep an eye on Richmond. The idea that you would get drawn into adjacent communities. Obviously, if there's life at stake, if officers are in real trouble, yes, but just to be a show of force, I'd rather you didn't. I'd rather you stay here and keep an eye on our highways and houses and places of business. But it's not per se anti-ICE. It's a sort of general distaste, I think, in the population for the behavior of some ICE and CBP agents who really just seem to be undertrained or ill prepared for de-escalation or doing crowd work. I appreciate the work you did earlier, kind of outlining all the differences, what a warrant is, all of that. I think I would encourage our fellow citizens to go to the webpage. That stuff is still available online on the town website. And just thank you for stepping into a difficult situation.
Go Caitlin and then Mary.
Thanks, Ed. I'm sorry, guys. I'm very sick, so I'm gonna stay off camera. And I'll probably hop off after this. But Chief Cohen, thank you for being here and talking about this. I know I had requested that you come back and chat with us. And I think that your question of what would you like, what would the town like you to do is an important one. And I think that that we should certainly hear some voices from the citizens of the town, and I hope that others are encouraged to reach out and to give their opinion. In my opinion, I think in light of what has happened in that March 11th situation in South Burlington and all of the information that we've gained since then, and all of the sessions in the State House and the sessions in the city councils and so forth, I would say that at this point, I would recommend that you watch from the perimeter and ensure everyone's safety from the perimeter versus standing between. I think that in our Fair and Impartial Policing Act and in the discussions that have come since the March 11 incident regarding the Fair and Impartial Policing Act, that it's in, first of all, your best interest, the town's best interest, and the folks there's best interest, that you're there to keep the peace and to do your job as you are have described very well to us in detail, which is wonderful. And I also think that we're dealing with an unprecedented time and a different federal agencies than we've ever seen before doing things that fall outside the bounds of the norm. And since it is within your means to be able to just stand at the perimeter, I think that is more appropriate at this time. Now, of course, in the moment, you all make decisions based on your training and your knowledge, which is, why we have you all on board and why we have such a skilled team. And I would trust those decisions to make sure people are safe, and specifically the citizens of Richmond or wherever you are having to work. So that would be my recommendation. Again, I think that it's important that folks in town also provide some input and feedback, because it is my personal opinion. And I think that keeping the conversation going is really the the key here, and I appreciate you coming back and talking about it and having these conversations before something were to come up and us reflecting on it, but instead learning from incidents that have happened and being able to have these tough conversations beforehand to prepare for what to do versus react. Thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin. Mary?
Yeah, the two farms that I know of that have farm workers are migrant farm workers. They are all here legally and provided very nice accommodations. Despite the migrant justice jackasses, I get to say that. You all got your personal opinion, I got mine. And I also think personally that it's about time we made it a federal offense for anybody protesting to block a highway. I had a friend whose son was being treated for cancer, and had there been a protest, she might not have been able to take her son to Boston. So I just want to guard against that. Like I said, y'all got to say what you personally felt. That's my personal feeling. And there are laws on the books for the state of Vermont that define what police departments can do. Cooperation, mutual aid, I understand that, but there's only so much the select board can direct a police department to do. Thank you.
Anyone else have any input? Do we want to, how do we want to, it's a pretty narrow group of people providing input to you.
Yep,
Many thousands of people, so.
yeah, anybody who wants to provide input later on, sees this later on, wants to provide, obviously give me a call, email. I'd be happy to receive that feedback at any point. I appreciate all your feedback because it will help us make the decision. It's better to have the information ahead of time and have a game plan ahead of time. Plans can always be changed based on situation, but at least you have a plan going into it. So the more feedback I get, the more information we gather ahead of time, the better off we'll be before it happens.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I guess the one thing I would say to wrap up is just, I think your policy of going to surrounding towns and providing mutual aid, but doing so in a kind of hands-off, supporting the other tasks and things that need to happen so the local agency can can undertake crowd control or, dealing with the protests directly, however they see fit, is a great policy in that we continue to provide mutual aid, which is important that we do that for surrounding towns, basically no matter what, but also are able to kind of walk that line where we don't put ourselves in a situation where, you are subject to someone else's command and they make a decision, you're kind of caught in the crossfire and stuff. So it's a great way to provide that support while also kind of keeping the distance from the policy decisions that they might have that don't line up with yours or our policies.
Our policies, yeah.
So I appreciate, and I think there's a lot more of a discussion to have there, but I appreciate, we talked the other day and you had come to that kind of policy on your own, and I'm impressed. I think that's a great way to walk that line and providing support, but also kind of distancing ourselves from things we don't have control over. So this is just a praise for the new chief night, but I think it's warranted. So
All right, appreciate it. Appreciate you guys' time, and I appreciate the feedback.
should we schedule a follow-up meeting with like a half an hour in a month or so we can solicit more input, or do we want to just let
think
this
that would
kind of
be a
be
good
ad
idea.
hoc, or what would be helpful for you?
Probably at least a month out. From
Okay.
my information, there's more information coming back from the legislature at the end of this month, so probably early May.
Clarifications and kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe we'll shoot for first meeting in May.
Yeah.
So that would be,
If
approximately a month.
they've gone home by then.
Great. And if we don't have that information back, I think that, 4 or 5 weeks is enough time for us to get word out in the community to gather more feedback. So even if 50 people weigh in, that's a lot more than we've had.
Yeah.
And that gives you time to talk to people in the community too.
And Chief, I think it's really important that the select board keep this dialogue and conversation going back and forth. In the past, both sides of the table have not done the best job in doing that, and it hasn't gone well. So I strongly encourage this open dialogue to continue.
Yeah, this is great.
One more hand up.
Aaron?
I had a quick question, because it does seem like there have been a lot of really civil and productive conversations in Richmond about what your involvement would be. And it seems like the protests are very civil. Do you have any data, or do you know if what happened in South Burlington, if the people that were protesting were South Burlingtonites, or are they people that traveled in for that? And like, how do we prepare for that in our own town? Because it seems like Richmond has been able to be peaceful. Do you see that being like it was, do you see that being something that we need to think about? That although
I
we are
have-
getting your feedback, what's coming in from out of town, I guess?
I have no hard data. Everything's just word of mouth, but it has, my understanding was that there was a call out to an alert system, and a group of protesters from the area came together. So it wasn't all just South Burlington residents. There's a group from the area came together and swarmed on that one location. Where everyone was from and their exact whereabouts from before that, I do not know, but it wasn't just South Burlington residents. And I think that same system is going to be in place for the foreseeable future for protests to happen in the future. When ICE related activities happen.
So if there were to be an ICE action that, I mean, for lack of a better term, really went off the rails in Richmond,
Let's say
all could happen in
at
Richmond and we.
Richmond, at the Richmond market, ICE decided to find a car that pulled in there and someone ran into Richmond market and hid. And word got out that their ICE was trying to do an activity there. There would be, my understanding is that there would be an alert goes out to the protest groups and through messaging. I don't know exactly how, but through their groups and messaging and their internal messaging, and everyone would come in to that location and start protesting. And then we would have to go through that process of how to navigate public safety at a very public location.
Yeah.
Right.
And I would only observe, depending on the size of the crowd, that might be another example where we ourselves would ask for mutual aid. I mean, if
Absolutely.
you have 200
I think this
people
is an
over
important
there.
point Chief Cohen brought up when we were talking, is that, you know, ultimately he would be in command of this scene. But if in Richmond, there's a good chance that VSP comes and helps, and they do have the ability to disagree with our stance or our approach and set up a separate command and undertake whatever actions they want to take under their purview. So ultimately, we really only control what Richmond and kind of surrounding mutual aid agencies do, not necessarily VSP. So there is this not odd, but complex overlay of authorities and policies.
Just like the dynamics with federal agencies and local agencies, same goes state, federal, and local. We all coexist together and work together, and we follow what we call unified command when a large incident happens, where we say there's one commander. However, that's a lovely working theory until we disagree upon what our actions we should take. And then we kind of splinter off to our own commands. Not saying that would happen, but it could
Possibility,
happen.
yeah. And so Richmond could have the most hands-off policy to, you know, within reason, allow protesters to protest. It seems like in South Burlington specifically, a lot of people's hunt or kind of idea is that protest escalated because police came in and tried to stop the protesting from being too close, disagreements. So if Matt were to have the policy that he's going to be hands-off, and that the, you know, ICE agents show of force would be enough to kind of maybe, depending on where we're at, kind of moderate that, VSP could come in and say, no, we don't want that. Actually, we're going to set up our own command and we're going to do these actions. And, you know, Matt and Chief Cohen and the entire Richmond department would be in the same bind with the state police as they would be with ICE, where they can't really stop them, but it's a policy that we don't agree with. And so it's a really complex, could be a
complex situation.
It could be
They could fall under this incident command, and they would abide by our command saying, hey, we're going to be on the exterior of this protest, continue to keep traffic away from it, keep the people inside, the pedestrians safe, and allow ICE to conduct their own enforcement with their own manpower, however that looks.
Yeah.
But the other piece of that puzzle is to review other areas of the country which has taken that step. We've seen a high use of force between ICE and protests when that step has happened. So got to weigh that balance in too, of what level of use of force did we see in South Burlington compared to other parts of the country that did take that step out and say, okay, officers are on that perimeter, and the ICE are doing their own thing and handling the protests themselves. Who do we want to handle it?
I think that the only real thing I can say for sure is that the more we talk about this, the more of an articulated policy and plan we have, the more likely we are to have that unified command stick because we have a thought out plan.
Correct.
And then also the more likely that community members understand what the policy is and where the line is and can protest accordingly. And I think the unknown is kind of the most dangerous part. And obviously the actions of federal agents that maybe aren't trained or don't follow policies as we're used to them following that's a big unknown. But if we can kind of eliminate as many other unknowns as possible, or at least providing some structure within which people can protest, hopefully safely.
Right.
So
And
the
this is
conversation seems like the most important.
another question to ask yourselves is Vermont agents and officers and troopers follow Vermont laws and regulations and rules. Federal agents follow federal rules, regulations, and laws. We can hold Vermont law enforcement accountable for our actions. We cannot hold federal agents accountable for their actions. The courts can hold them, but not us. So
Not in the moment.
not in the moment.
Right.
So these are all questions that we should ask when we really make that ultimate decision of when something happens, where do we put our officers at that moment?
Yeah.
Do we put them in that line in the middle to say we want to make sure our officers are the ones that we are controlling and we're in charge of to make sure that safety is at the best that we can have for everyone involved? Are we saying, okay, ICE is your actions, we're hands off. We will be on the outside to make sure everyone, your actions are safe, have its own safety zone, and that you're in charge of everything in between. But we have this, but we'll keep the bubble safe, and you're on the inside. Anything inside this bubble is all you. Those are kind of our two choices.
Caitlin, sorry, I missed your hand for a few minutes.
No,
Apologize.
it's okay. It wasn't an emergency. Excuse me. I think that the point in protesters coming from out of town, that's always going to be the case. There are certainly networks that alert when something is happening so that folks can come in and protest. And I think that in the case of the South Burlington incident, I was not there. However, I do know that other folks in Richmond were there and witnessed firsthand what was happening. I know that a lot of this has been testified and so forth, and there are reports of all sorts of things across the board. However, I would say in an incident like what happened there, if all of the protesters who were there continued to be peacefully protesting and were not escalating in any way against the federal officers, that we don't really have a reason to step in. If the federal officers then, choose to escalate in their own accord, I don't. I think that at this point we all understand that is what is happening and that they are capable of these things, and that especially the network of folks who are showing up to these protests understand that the federal agents are going to take actions that they otherwise wouldn't expect from federal officers or Vermont officers. And I think because of that, I still stand by that it makes sense for our officers to be, at the perimeter and making sure that folks are safe and that people are able to protest peacefully, and to make sure that things stay peaceful and to try to maintain that that level of safety. I understand that could mean that ICE is escalating with protesters, and I do think that the folks that are coming to protest understand at some point, what that escalation means and when they have the option to leave or not to leave, and that is also their choice at that point. I wouldn't want to make that choice for them. And I think that the other really key part here is that with officers, making sure that the external area is safe. Our body cameras are always on, and to be able to have that on the scene and a more holistic view instead of being in the middle of it makes me feel more confident that we can ensure that the after effects of either needed prosecution or evidence is is held. And I also understand that means that there may be, Vermont State Police that are called in. I don't think there's a problem with the Vermont State Police having to come in, and if they end up not following the incident commands that we are putting forth, I would be happy to stand by our team in court and say this is what we had decided, and this is the plan that we've put in place, and this is what didn't happen. And I would hope that that's the path that we're taking. That said, of course, the Vermont State Police has their own choices to make, and we don't have control of that system, obviously. And what happens there is what happens there. And if they show up and make other choices, that's out of our control. So I think that we can do what we think is the best for our town and the people and residents in this town, as well as people visiting our town, whether it be because they are protesting or not. Just keeping everyone safe from allowing them to exercise their right to protest peacefully.
Thank you, Kaylin. So should we we'll plan on first meeting in May of a follow-up? Hopefully we have some feedback from the legislature, some clarifications, and then more community members here. I'll have a chance to think about this. Sounds great.
Sounds good.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate it.
Keep going. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Chief Cohen.
Next, we have a agenda item to consider reducing the size of the planning commission from 7 members to 5 members and adding 1 additional alternate. This request came from the planning commission. They currently have 5 of the 7 seats filled. That has made it challenging for them to get a quorum at times. They would need 4 to 5 members to be there to have a quorum. Reducing it to 5 would reduce the number of required members to be there for a quorum to 3, which would make it easier on the off chance that there are vacations or sicknesses, commitments that take members away. Keith, do you want to speak to this, or is there any planning commission members who would like to add to my very brief synopsis? Or
Well, I'll go ahead and add to it. I'm assuming that you can hear me okay?
yes, yes.
Okay, fantastic. Good evening, everybody. Yeah, not for lack of trying. We've been trying to get the quorum. I've been trying to get the board up to 7 members. It just hasn't worked. With everything that Duncan puts out and everything we put out on Front Porch Forum, it's a challenging environment right now. And I've been asked to come here tonight to explain that we're having a very difficult time getting a quorum. We didn't have one at the last meeting, which really does affect our work, obviously. So it's a pretty simple request. Drop it down from 7 and no alternates to 5 and 1 alternate. The statute, which I don't have off the top of my mind, allows for as low as 3 and as high as 9, and no more is 9. So 5 is obviously in between that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any concerns from the board?
Just, this is Bart. Keith, for clarity, so when you have 5 members and an alternate, if 4 members show up and the alternate is then a voting member?
Yeah, that alternate would serve in the place of an absent member, correct?
I just wanted us all to be clear on that.
Makes sense.
Yep.
Go ahead.
I'm very aligned with this. This all makes sense to drop down the number of members. I think we're a small town. I think that we've tried, and it makes sense. I am in a hop off. I'm just really not feeling good, so I apologize, but I'm just to state I'm aligned with dropping the numbers down. Makes sense to me.
Great. Thank you, Caitlin.
Thanks all.
Thanks. Later.
Yeah, and I guess I would point out that if there were to be a sudden surge in interest in planning commission membership, we could always increase that back up.
Yes,
Correct.
With no more formality than we are going through right now.
Correct.
Chair, this is David. I move to reduce the size of the planning commission from 7 members to 5 members and to add a seat for an alternate member.
second that. This is Greg.
A motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Bart, aye.
Greg? Aye.
David, aye.
Adam, aye. Thank you, Keith.
Thank you.
So we're still recruiting for an alternate. Is that correct?
Yes, and actually, we're probably going to need another full-time member because we did have one full-time member that was hardcore that had to drop out for personal reasons.
Gotcha. So we are down to 4 members right now?
Yeah, basically 4 members, of which really we only have 3 what we term hardcore members. The fourth one is spotty attendance.
Man, that is tough. Okay.
It is. Okay,
Great.
thank you.
Next, we have a consideration of approving a request to place signs in the town right of way for the Richmond Round Church Women's Run.
So we've Jasmine is here.
Yes, hi. For some reason I can't hear you very well and I don't know what I've done wrong. So let me see. Can you speak again? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear
Yep,
us?
I hear you.
Oh, great. Okay.
All right. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, so I am hoping that I want to say thank you to the select board for hearing our request. I put these in the case that we had more signs than I anticipate that we do, but for right now I think we just really have one sign that's just to let the community know that we will be hosting a race and that they're welcome to join as well. But yeah, if anyone has any questions, happy to answer.
No, this is just a sign permit that is in conjunction with, or kind of would go in conjunction with the previous request for the road and all that. So
Yeah.
it seems like
Okay.
a great small step to help support.
How many days before the race will the signs go up?
No more than 7, because I think the sign would say something to the effect of road race this Saturday. So it would be no more than 7. But likely we get worried about signs being stolen, so it would likely be more like 2 to 3 days before.
Good. Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Aaron?
Hey, I just have a quick question about the timing of the race and how does this connect with when potentially there'll be a 4-way stop at that intersection? Thanks.
We can't tell you until after the 14th. Aaron, 16th, sorry. Apologies. Thank you, 16th. I guess that is a possibility, but it's also a possibility that there would not be. How's that for a non-answer?
Okay.
Any other questions or concerns from the board? Would entertain a motion to approve the request.
Mr. Chair, this is David. I move to approve the request by the Round Church Women's Run to place signage in the town's right-of-way to promote the event for 2 weeks prior to the event, which will be held Saturday, July 25th, 2026.
Do we have a second?
Is Bartle second?
Okay. Are you okay if we leave the permits good for 2 weeks? Is that fine? You don't have to use the entire 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I would appreciate anything. So that gives us some leeway as well. Thank you.
I would say if the sign does say this Saturday, probably don't put it out 2 weeks ahead.
Oh yeah, no, I won't. But I don't know if we're gonna make any more promotional like materials other than a more general like, hey, this is happening for your information. So yeah, that if we have other things, we could use those for up to 2 weeks to let the community know as well. But yeah.
Great. Thanks, Jasmine. All those in
Thank
favor?
Art, aye.
Greg? Aye.
David, I.
Adam, aye. Thank you.
Have a great run.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Next, we have consideration of renewing an agreement with Umiak for use of a ladder to exit the Winooski River and use of one parking spot over Rucker Park.
Has it been a year already?
It's been another year. No flooding in between, so. So yeah, we're looking to keep maintaining the bridge or the steps up from the riverbank into over Rocker Park. I have not inspected the steps yet for this season. But we pulled them up last year, they were in great shape, and so we'll do an inspection before we install them. We typically want to wait until as much of the flood potential is at its lowest and the river is at its safest. So typically we are not dropping those steps until about the middle of June when that happens. And we'll notify the town when that does. We're also requesting that we have the availability of parking a trailer in the Overrocker Park during the times of operations that we're down there. And that trailer, just, just has more inner tubes for people that want to tube the river. And we'll continue to provide the $15 rate for citizens that want a shuttle service from citizens in the town of Richmond.
Motion says ladder. Should we correct that to say stair or?
I think the agreement actually says ladder too.
Yeah, I apologize. I used the two back and forth.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
It's
essentially a
more
ladder.
stairs than ladder probably, but I think both work.
We could do an and/or. It doesn't matter to me. It just seems like, if we want to cover it.
Yeah.
But tremendously popular activity in Richmond.
Yeah.
And later, in recent years, it's incredible on a nice weekend day to see how many people are floating down the river. So.
You could say and/or, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, we can make those adjustments to the.
Yeah, we could actually, anytime this says ladder, we could say ladder and/or steps in the agreement if that's what you guys want to do, because it's probably more descriptive to use steps actually, because.
And do you provide some kind of insurance for this activity? You carry a general business insurance for that?
We carry general business insurance for all of our participants that are using, going down the river and using the ladder.
Yeah.
Our insurance does not cover the town's people that might use the steps or ladders on their own when we're not there.
Yeah, and then we'll update the agreement and sounds good.
Ready for a motion?
I am.
This is Bart. I move to approve the agreement for facilities used between the town of Richmond and Umiak as presented and or modified by mutual agreement.
This is Greg. I will second that motion.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Bart, aye.
Greg? Aye.
David, I.
Adam, aye. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming and thanks for waiting.
We'll see you next year. Thank you.
Next, we have an update on progress to submit a notice of intent for the Southview stormwater permit. I guess we have two updates to this, right, Josh?
Pretty much say that. So I could take it if you want, or.
Yeah, go for it. I can fill in the little tiny bit I know.
I think you know everything I know. So I had a conversation with engineer Andres Torizo from Watershed Engineering, who's working on this project on March 25th. He says he's still on track to get the notice of intent completed and submitted by end of June, which would then give the state 2 months, July and August, to review, ask questions, and him to make changes based on those questions and get this all finalized by the end of August, which is our goal for realizing the grant funding. He did note, though, that there's one wrinkle that's come up. He's working on a number of these types of projects, and one of them is over in Barry. And the feedback he's gotten after he submitted the notice of intent and the designs to the state is that they want to somehow memorialize the disconnection. So these are areas on private property where you might have a gutter that takes a roof and puts it into a lawn, and that's considered disconnected and treated. So they're asking him to ensure that those are going to be in perpetuity. So if someone takes their gutters off or somehow conditions change on property, that there's that won't happen, so that the stormwater remains treated. He's looking at a couple different options. He's going to see, he'll get more feedback from the state here shortly about what are they asking him to do. In our situation, he said that we've got 3 main structures. We might be able to just add one chamber to one of those structures to treat some more stormwater in the same structure, which should be not terribly costly. We might have to add a whole new chamber, which would be more costly because those are $100,000+ per chamber. Another option he said is maybe we can ask the state for a waiver to say we just can't treat the additional, I think it's about a half an acre of stormwater that this would be affected to. And at that point, you pay about a $7,500 penalty one time, and that could probably be taken out of the grant money that we have for permitting. So there are a few different paths forward here. It's a little bit challenging, but we should hopefully have more information from Andres in another week or two once he gets more from the state.
Questions from the board?
It's a little bit like they're moving the cheese on us. It's,
Like, I guess, I think he's actually made it pretty clear. So I know there was a lot of pushback during a lot of these meetings that people wanted to pursue options for disconnection to minimize the stormwater treatment required with structures. And Andres was pretty adamant. He was pushing back on that, saying that he foresaw a situation in which those disconnections became permanent encumbrances on the property. And that's basically what's playing out now. Is he knew what was going to happen, is they're not going to let you say you disconnect all these things and not treat the stormwater accordingly. And then also not have those enshrined in some form of easement on the property, because you could immediately regrade, restructure, whatever, and that disconnection would be immediately eliminated with no recourse. So I think he saw this coming, and I think his strategy had been to only use disconnection in situations where it would be pretty hard to change that, where driveways were by function of how they were installed, they were disconnected with sheet flow. I think he tried not to lean on a lot of things directly adjacent to houses where people might put in patios or decks or change gutters and stuff, landscaping, where it would be something you could easily do in a weekend as a homeowner and you would undermine that. But it sounds like even those, driveway pieces or kind of like large lawns are going to be required to have an easement in place now to be counted, which is probably more of a worst case than we expected, but it's not. He did warn us against this, and it has been part of his strategy actually the whole time, I think, to not lean on this because he feared this was going to happen. So for better or worse, here we are.
This part, I have not thought about this until today, this level of detail, but say somebody either wants to remove a garage or build a garage, it changes the impervious surface on that property, which is as significant potentially as any of these disconnections. It strikes me it's virtually impossible to regulate down to the cubic or square yard of impervious surface and drainage. It's sort of, we're chasing the cheese again.
yeah.
Agreed.
Well, we don't want to the benefit of the homeowners, we don't want to freeze that subdivision in amber.
Exactly.
You know.
That would be that's bad for the homeowners. It's bad for the town. It's bad for everyone.
Right, we'll just have to wait and see what he comes back with.
Yes. Yeah, it just seems to me that they're chasing after something which is not achievable in the long term anyway.
Yeah.
Like regulate the exact space of impervious surface and how every part of it works 10, 20, 30 years from now.
Yeah. It seems like a losing battle. But, I think the one example that Andres kept, there's a lot of discussion about rain barrels and things like that. And so I think that was the example he always used. And so the reason he had pushed back against that is because in those situations, those rain barrels would be required by an encumbrance, an easement on the property to be maintained by the homeowner. So if you sold the property and you didn't want a rain barrel, you would be legally required to have that rain barrel and maintain it. And so this is kind of adjacent to that. So that's what we're up against. So
Yeah.
I guess he has indicated that he'll have hopefully some direction and answers for us in the next couple of weeks so we can move forward. Next we have discussion. Well, is there anything else on that? Sorry. You want to move on too fast?
No.
And then we get Sam for the next one, but you can introduce it.
Okay. Sounds like everyone's burnt out on stormwater. Next, we have a discussion of a proposal from the Andrews Community Forest Committee regarding the development and maintenance of a standalone visitor rules document for the Andrews Community Forest, which will be separate from the management plan. I think Sam Pratt's going to come in and talk to us, but I think they had indicated that they would like to be able to set up a set of rules or, expectations for using the town forest that would be separate than the management plan, because that would facilitate easier amendment of those rules. Right now, there's a pretty strict process to amend the management plan. And so any minor change to the rules, since they are part of the management plan, has to undergo a huge process. So even if it was like I don't know what it would be. It was like changing a parking spot or a gate at a trailhead, or ribbon marking a trail, that all has to be part of the management plan.
This is more, okay.
Let's let someone who has more expertise explain. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for your patience. We're just wrapping up next door. Okay, so yeah, I think we are, good news. I think we're maybe one meeting away from being done with the management plan. We are, we're at the very end. So,
commitment to me.
yeah, I mean, I want to,
You did say maybe, so.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident. We basically have one appendix left, and just a couple of really minor things. So,
Great.
and it's mostly written. We just kind of need to get clarification. So that said, one of the things we've been talking about in the past, I guess I should introduce myself. I'm Sam Pratt. I'm the co-chair of the Andrews Community Forest Committee. And one of the things we've been talking about is just management of the management plan itself, which is supposed to be updated at least once every 10 years, but it can be updated more frequently than that. Anytime we update the management plan, it does require you all to approve it, as well as the Vermont Land Trust. And for ease of managing sort of like visitor rules in the forest, we thought it would be easier to have a separate document for that. But we weren't sure whether or not the select board would prefer to have that as part of the management plan and always need to be updated within that process. So in this document that I submitted for you all tonight, it basically lays out a potential way for us to have a separate rules doc, which I suppose I could join the meeting and show. We actually have we got this. We also actually already have the rules document that we haven't approved yet because we're kind of waiting for the full management plan approval. But it's basically what would be posted at the kiosk and online, which is basically a 2-page document. The first page has visitor rules. The second page has a map that is just for navigational purposes. So it's got, just the things that you would want, like the, topography, the trails, and, notable features like rivers and stuff. And so
This is what's in the plan now. I assume these are
okay, yeah, this
the
is different.
general daily rule. Well, I can show your document too, but
Yeah, oh, great.
these are sort of the general rules that would be posted, but just in a different format, right?
Yeah, so we have this exact thing. If you just go to the Andrews community page on the town site,
Sure.
it's it was in the packet.
Well, wait, you gave me in the packet, you gave me this as
So
your,
there's this one. This was just my request to the select board. But if you want to see the actual rules doc,
oh,
which,
your packet. Right,
I can show it to you. It's on the in the packet for
Let me get that
the meeting, the forest committee
for
meeting.
this meeting tonight.
Yep.
That makes it super easy.
It is
Navigate this website very adeptly.
Spends a lot of time on it.
On and enough. Thank you though.
So yeah, this is basically, what it looks like, and it's just got, hours and allowed uses. Some of the stuff we were going to make some really slight adjustments to, but hunting, trail closures, etc. Potential farm activity, the power line right of way, parking, dogs, camping, all that stuff. And none of this is set in stone because the management plan still needs to be updated, but this was sort of our vision for what the rules document would look like. And so I kind of outlined in my request whether or not you're supportive of having this separate document, even if it's not exactly pulled from the management plan. So the management plan would generally state, this wouldn't be in direct conflict with the management plan. The management plan would be slightly more general, with the rules doc basically saying, here's what what the actual rules are. And then if you like this sort of separate approach where if at any time we need to make a rule change, we don't have to go flag Vermont Land Trust to also sign off on it, because I don't think they frankly really care about that stuff unless it's in direct conflict with the conservation easement, which is their main thing. And so then we have a couple different tracks here, option A and option B. Whereas if you like this approach with two documents, one would be ACFC just does what we normally do, which is we're an advisory body that basically makes a recommendation. We bring it to you all, and then you would approve it. The other would be, I guess, you empowering the Forest Committee to make the changes and then just, post the new document or the new stuff on the site in the kiosk. We're fine with either, but that's basically the request here, is whether or not you think this is a good idea, whether or not you'd rather see the rules as part of the management plan itself, and if you like it separate, how you'd like us to proceed with making updates, if it should be a proposal to you all, or if it should be something that we just manage on our own.
I would speak in favor of allowing you to maintain this independently, just knowing that it's like the posted rules at the swimming pool. Somebody's gonna do something and you're gonna feel like we should have a rule.
Yeah.
As long as it is in support of or sort of directly in the spirit of the management plan. Dave Barry once described the warning sign on the toaster says, "Please don't stick a fork in the toaster." And then to add, even if your wedding ring drops in there, the monumental stupidity may occur, and you may decide down the road to say no. A sample idea may be, if you get overwhelmed with electric bikes, I don't know, that may feel a little bit too much like motorized vehicles, but at any rate, I'd like the people actually doing the maintaining to have at least some flexibility to address issues as they arise, be responsive.
So I agree. My only comment is, and you've put this caveat out there, that it's congruent or consistent with the management plan.
Yeah.
That would be the only thing I think citizens would be concerned about if the rules start to go to be much more permissive or much less permissive than the management plan. But I agree, there would be things like, whether it's electric bikes or, I don't know, hunting with hounds, I don't know, whatever it's going to be.
The main thing we were thinking about was like seasonal closure type stuff. So, that we, as you will see in the very near future, when we get you this document, within hopefully a month after our next meeting, we have planned potential seasonal closures for, sensitive areas like hemlock during the winter, because they're wintering areas for deer and turkey, or wetlands when there's, wildlife activity. So we have general timeframes for stuff like that. And those would be the types of things we were thinking that might change in the rules document. Not like we're trying to make these big, broad sweeping changes. I think that for the most part, the rules would stay somewhat static, and then we might make very minor tweaks, but we didn't want to have to trigger some big approval process, especially involving Vermont Land Trust, just to make rules changes. I think that would probably just annoy them if we kept bugging them to make those updates.
Yeah, this seems like it'll let you respond more nimbly to a need as it arises throughout the summer, winter, whenever. Broadly in support of it. I mean, I would defer to you. Sounds like you have a preference, but what is your preference as a committee?
I think the committee likes the ability to be able to maintain it, but we also just didn't know whether or not that was like overstepping our authority, since we are an advisory body. We didn't want to try to empower ourselves to make rules that maybe we're not authorized to make on our own. So that's kind of why we wanted to ask, because we think that this is a good idea to have the separate document and to be able to manage it nimbly. But we also just want to make sure that we're complying with whatever the spirit of our role is in the community.
I have one thought, and it just came to me a moment ago. The term rules in my head is a somewhat laden term, because it implies regulations, and in government, that's a whole process of rule and regulation.
That's true.
So I just was thinking maybe we should call it guidelines or something.
Yeah.
And the only reason for me is that rules follow a much more rigid and prescribed process as a term.
I think the reason we used rules is because guidelines felt like it was like an optional, like a suggestion.
Fair
But I'm happy to use whatever
Yeah, that's a good
language.
point, though.
Yeah,
makes
Both,
the most
both
sense.
valid points. And guidelines that, from the perspective of someone sitting at the bottom of a trail staring at a map, guidelines means that it's optional,
Yeah.
possibly, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that,
I think, yeah,
And it uses it sort of interchangeably, right? Like, I don't know.
yeah.
It even uses the word rule in your posting. I'm just searching for.
Guidelines.
Oh, yeah.
Guidelines.
yeah,
I think we're pretty flexible on, if you'd like to see one term versus the other, I don't think we're
I'm
tied to one.
I'm indifferent.
specific word.
Yeah.
I'm sure if you go too far, somebody will be in front of us.
Yeah.
That's probably true, given our history here.
does the board you guys have a preference on whether we defer management to them or we have rule changes come to the select board? I can see benefits and merits to both.
Well, the way it's presented, it says consistent with the management plan. I don't think we would allow you to change the management plan without public input.
Mhm.
But I think it's certainly, now that you've been in a sort of licensed or whatever you want to call it to effectuate the management plan, that this is sort of internal to that. So we're kind of delegating a power here, but I'm not uncomfortable doing that.
Sure.
And back to the sort of rule observation, the management plan has gone through this whole process and has authority. So what you've represented is that this document will be consistent with the management plan.
Mhm.
And if it becomes a problem, then yeah, somebody's, I think, going to raise it or say, wait, this conflicts with the management plan in a substantive way.
Yeah, and everyone will have a chance to weigh in on the management plan, imminently, because we're pretty much done with it. So, you all get a copy. It's going to go to RCC and RTC as well. And then while that goes out, we're going to have do just a little final polish. But then I suppose this is maybe a topic for a future select board meeting, unless you'd rather discuss now, is what we want the public feedback to look like, because it's been, a couple of years since there was public feedback on this, and, it's an entirely new management plan. And I think the committee feels good about where we're at with it. And, but I'm sure there are going to be comments, and, we obviously want to be transparent and to have the community weigh in on it as well. So I don't know what that's going to look like. And maybe that's something that I can talk to Josh about putting on a future select board meeting to talk about whether or not there's a special ACFC meeting or a special select board meeting where, we invite the public to comment on the new management plan, which would be after the round of feedback from this committee, and then from RCC and RTC, we integrate that feedback, and then we're basically ready for that final comment period.
Yeah. I think, I don't know if we'll figure out that entire feedback kind of trajectory or plan tonight, but I think that broadly sounds like a great.
Cool. Yeah.
Great plan.
I'll I guess pitch it. I can organize my thoughts and pitch it to Josh. We had that flow chart that I showed you probably, 6 months ago or something, and we're basically done with a lot of it at this point. So it could kind of be condensed into something that's easy to follow, and we could talk about what the best path forward is for, approval and community feedback on that. And then hopefully, very soon we'll have this all approved and we can move on.
Start managing.
Exactly. Start managing it, do some stuff that's more fun, do some, community outreach, and, do some trail building, and do some, education events, and all the things that people have been longing to do in the forest. So we can sort of have our grand opening, so to speak, because it's obviously been usable, but yeah, we're excited to move on to the next phase, and hopefully the community is also excited about the management plan.
I have one other comment, and maybe I missed it, but it seems clear that the management plan will refer to a rules document. Maybe the rules document should also make reference to the management plan, that it's really, they refer to each other.
Create
and
feedback loop.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's great. And we need to put that language in the management plan, but we were waiting to see what your thoughts were on it before we did that. So we can make sure it's a two-way thing. They reference each
So
other.
it sounds like we're fully on board with 2 separate documents, and we're kind of liking the idea of delegating that to this or some future iteration of the committee.
Yeah, I appreciate all the work that's gone into this.
That said, there
Oh,
could be
man.
some massive feedback that changes that trajectory, but I think it seems well thought out.
I am impressed that we are approaching this milestone of agreement within the committee on a management plan. So thanks for your work and other folks' work to get us here, because
Yeah.
it has not been a linear path, I guess I'd say.
It hasn't. And yeah, I hope that I'm excited to present it to you all and the public, and hopefully, yeah, I think it's a much improved management plan, and whatever happens, I'm excited for the next steps, and I'm also excited to go back down to just 1 meeting a month, because we've been meeting for 2 meetings a month for over a year now, I think, and it's we're on the same schedule that you are almost. It's not quite as long of meetings, but twice
a week lately.
Well, okay, yeah, I guess.
So,
Cool. Well, I appreciate your feedback, and yeah, I'll be in touch very soon about getting you all the management plan.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Next, we have a review of a request to convey a town-owned segment of Stage Road to the owners of 2040 Stage Road, with the town maintaining the right-of-way for Stage Road on this segment. So, Josh, do you want to give a synopsis, or are you?
Well, Marcy, what do you whatever would like to? You want to give the synopsis? You're probably.
Prepared to do it?
Yeah, it's your land, you're better.
doing
I
some-
got a bunch of maps I can share while you're doing
Yes,
that, if you like.
could have our survey and the 2 little pieces, the survey that was done for the transfer handy,
Yeah.
that would be great.
I got those, and actually, let's maybe start with just location setting for folks. So we'll start with this map. So this is on Stage Road.
Oh, I got thingy. I see.
Well, I got
Okay.
that's the map you were up here. So Route 289, we're getting out towards Bolton, right? Up on Stage Road. This is the parcel here, 2040. And the portion of the road is in this general area.
Except that I would add, actually, you're correct, that's our land, except that it extends into Bolton, that triangle,
Yeah.
that's part of it too.
Yeah. But as far as the road, it's this section of Stage Road
yes.
just before you get to the big turn where you cross over into Bolton.
Yep.
And then, I've got this zoomed in one, and then this parcel survey that you've provided as well.
Correct.
All right,
Thank you.
you're on.
And I have this one, which is a very old map of the original lots in the town of Richmond, and I'd pass it around, but you're all gonna start looking at it. I'll pass it around when we're done. So I'm Marcy Harding, my husband's Dan Martin. And we're asking you to consider conveying a small strip of land, which is shown. Dan, you want to stand up there and just show the strip of land? Conveying a small strip of land we gave to the town back in 1985, and we're asking the town to consider conveying it back to us. To clarify, because the memo you got about this was a memo I wrote to Dante, that Dante wrote to Josh, that Josh wrote to you, and whatever. There were some references in that document that you're looking at to a sale. There was no sale. This was this was presented to us as a land swap. So if you've read the material that was submitted, or that Josh put in the packet, and think we've made a convincing case, we're happy to discuss what comes next and answer questions. If you'd prefer that I review the history of this request, I'm happy to do so. And maybe for the benefit of the people on the line, I should do it. It's a little condensed from what what Josh put in the packet. So our land is lot number 169 in the original subdivision of the town of Richmond. Again, I've got this map. It's 93 acres more or less, and it's bisected, as you could see on Josh's first map, it's bisected by Stage Road. We own land on both the east and west side of the road. We've owned our land, and actually, that's based on the tax map.
Yeah, it may not be exact.
It isn't. The boundary is actually a straight line, and I've talked to the assessor, and also the south boundary is a straight line. And I have talked to the assessor, and that's supposed to be corrected in the April 1st tax map. I don't know if it was or not, but she gave me in writing a message that it would be fixed.
This is the one to do that, so you got the right
I
person.
talked to Lisa,
Yep,
correct.
yep.
So we've owned our land since 1979. We started building our house in 1980. And at that time, Stage Road was a class 4 road north of our property, and it was not maintained by the town. Occasionally, somebody who lived up in West Bolton would come down and drop their plow and plow it through if there wasn't a real heavy snowfall. But for the most part, it was not maintained as a through road. But in the summer, people did drive it. In 1981, we did a bunch of things. We enrolled all but 5 acres around our house in the current use program, the state's current use program. And if you need to know more about that program, I can tell you. Green Mountain Power extended power to our house from the south, and we moved into our unfinished house and we got married. By 1985, 4 years later, we had a 2-year-old and a newborn. In that same year, 1985, Red Lawrence was the Richmond Road Commissioner. Does anybody here even remember Red Lawrence?
No.
Pete probably does. I see Pete's on the call here and on the Zoom, and maybe he remembers Red. He was the road commissioner, and he informed us that the town wanted to improve Stage Road from our house northward. He asked if we'd be receptive to swapping the strip of land, the road that is now our driveway, for a strip of land that is now the existing road, to avoid a curve and a ledge outcrop on what is now our driveway. So yeah, that represents the swap. The move would move the road away from our house, and we were happy to accommodate the town. Our house is about where, yeah,
House is about in here.
right.
The ledge outcropping actually are here and in here, and there's a kind of a sharp curve too. Dangerous.
So Red Lawrence said to us that we'd need to convey the new segment of road to the town, and the town would convey the old segment of road to us. The town had a survey done. That's it. That was done by the town's the town hired the surveyor. I don't know if you can move it up or not, but there is a surveyor's signature with the LS down at the bottom of that for licensed surveyor. And each of those parcels, by the way, is slightly less than 5/10 less than half an acre. Each one is a slightly less than half an acre. The town had David Sunshine prepare quitclaim deeds. We in the town executed the deeds in August 1985. No money changed hands. The road work was completed that year. In 1990, we had our land surveyed. Maybe you want to go to the survey now. We were surprised to learn when we got our survey that the town apparently did not own any portion of the road except that which we had conveyed to the town in 1985. So you can see the center line of the road is marked on there. The parcel we gave to the town is marked on there. You want to point it out, maybe? Yeah, okay, there, yeah. And there's a dotted line that shows where the road used to go. Can you point it out, Dan?
Yeah.
Yeah, which is now our driveway.
So
There's nothing indicating that the town owns anything except the strip we gave the town. So the town didn't own the road.
Sounds like a good trade for the town.
What
Traded you
you gave,
nothing for something.
Full of Costco.
yeah.
We gave you your own land for some of your land. Okay.
Okay, so, as you can see, our survey shows our parcel of land surrounding the town-owned strip.
Yeah.
Now, over the years, you know, we didn't deal with this when we first got the survey. Again, we had 2 little kids. I was working full-time. There was just a lot going on. We had to agree on a boundary line. If you saw the whole survey, you'd see there was a boundary line over on the east side that we had to agree with Johnson Company that what had been marked as the boundary was in fact the boundary. There's some notes on there about that boundary. That got resolved. But in 2017, we were required to update our forest management plan for current use. The map of our parcel had to be digitized for the first time. And we'd been in the program quite a few years, but this was the year when maps had to be digitized. And there were questions about whether the strip of land was within or extended beyond our 5-acre exclusion. I won't explain all the details involved in resolving this, but it was not easy, and it involved me returning from California, where I was caring for my dad as his health failed, in order to meet with the tax department staff at the state to resolve it. It was pretty inconvenient. And then more recently, in early January this year, Green Mountain Power approached us about extending the power to the owner of a lot just north of us, the lot that says Thomas and Bonnie Lindback. Yeah, that somebody else owns that now. They're planning to build a house there, and they want to bring power up, Green Mountain Power up to that lot. And once again, this was a very difficult situation, and the town-owned strip was part of the issue. To me, it seemed as if Green Mountain Power was trying to put a square peg in a round hole, and it wasn't working. After about 2.5 months and lots of emails, some of which Josh was in on, a lot of which Dante was in on, there was a request by Green Mountain Power for a right-of-way permit. So after 2.5 months, Green Mountain Power sort of abruptly informed us that they were looking at other alternatives, and the next day applied for a right-of-way permit application. They revised their right-of-way permit application for underground power in the road. So I guess that's where it stands right now. We haven't really heard anything more. So we've lived where we live for 45 years on Stage Road. We have no plans to go anywhere and no plans to develop our land. We also recognize that we won't live forever, and at some point, someone else will own our land. We would like this town-owned strip of land not to be a problem for the next owner, who likely won't know any of this history. We are happy the road is where it is. We would like to restore lot number 169 to what it was when we acquired the land. To us, the lot is historic. And so what's next? We understand, Josh, I don't know if you want to add anything here, but we understand that Dante Denault sent a copy of our survey, the survey of the 2 strips and the 2 quitclaim deeds to the town attorney. Perhaps at Josh's request, I don't know. Yeah. And I don't know what sort of explanation or request accompanied that transmittal. But if the select board is receptive to our request, we assume the town will want its attorney to provide guidance on how to proceed to make this happen. And we really appreciate your consideration of this. I'm happy to pass this around if you want now. It's Bolton is way up in this corner. It's lot 169. It's kind of a cool map, and I couldn't find one. Dante and I looked for that map in the town office and we couldn't find it. So maybe we need to make a copy and get it in the town office.
Cool.
I think it's from 1923.
There was one in the early 20s.
Yeah.
That might have been from the 1800s, though, I'm not sure.
So, sorry.
So again, I'm happy to answer questions if anybody has any,
Yeah, I do.
wants any more detail.
Yeah. Maybe I'm just thick-headed tonight, but the road alignment, as it seems to be described on the survey, is per the original lot line location, right? If we do this this
Yeah, this.
deal to,
Yes.
does it involve relocating a portion of Stage Road near your house? Yeah, so
On the ground, everything stays the same. All
Sounds like we relocated it
the town has the.
Already.
already, and
Right.
we thought we were trading land at the time, but it turns out they own both pieces that we traded.
Yeah.
Yes.
and then the second question is at some time during this long history, has an actual right of way been created for Stage Road, or is it still in limbo?
That's why I say I think we may need an attorney. I don't know. We don't think, according to our survey, there's no indication that the town has a right of way on the rest of Stage Road.
They have a heck of a
And-
claim for I can't remember the name, the term of art anymore, but they've been using it obviously and
Yeah.
and making improvements on it
Right.
steadily.
Adverse
Adverse
possession.
possession, yeah, adverse possession. So attendant on that, would that in some way endanger your status, or would you have to pay some kind of penalty or fee for privatizing the current use land? If that right of way gets,
Well, see, we think this is, when we had the current use problem, we had to convince the state that what we did in 1985 was all within the exclusion.
Yeah, the exclusion is actually a rectangle that encompasses that.
Yeah.
So it should make it move,
okay,
should simplify.
It will restore our exclusion to 5 acres, because I think with our last forest management plan, because of this conveyance, our exclusion was 5 acres minus what we gave the town.
Right.
So it was like 4.5 acres. And then if the town gives us this land back, it'll go back to 5 acres, which is what it should.
and it's,
Will still be there.
I don't know how
Really change
the creation of a right of way, I don't know how that would impact your acreage and the calculations and all that. I'm just curious that.
Oh, with the right of way could have some impact on how the state calculates it. Maybe not the same as
Well,
having the land.
you know,
owned by
the
someone
road
else.
center line alignment's shown, but you know, a town road has at least, I believe, a 50-foot right of way.
Yeah.
Or none.
Or-
49.5.
I mean, it should, up in there, I think it's probably a 3-rod right away,
Okay.
which is 16.5 feet per rod. So,
It's 49.5,
yeah, oh yeah, close to 50 there.
I don't want to inadvertently do something to step on your toes.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
your house has been there forever.
Yeah.
That's-
I wondered if the ancient road statute that was passed at some point sort of resolved the fact that the town has the right to use that road. I mean,
Solomon.
we are,
The
We-
cleanest thing we could have right
want-
now would have been if the road had just been relocated and nothing had been talked about, because we'd be so many years out that it would just be in the same situation as the rest of Stage Road, right? So how do we,
Yeah, so as far as this parcel, the attorney said it would be simple to, basically give a deed to Dan and Marcy. They would say that they now own that, and then in exchange, we get an easement for that portion of the road to say that the town has all the usual rights of a road in that section.
Okay.
How we deal with the northern and southern section, I hadn't contemplated that, but that might be something to ask just to make sure that we have those rights. But I think because we've been maintaining it, I think it's 15 years. If you maintain it, I think it's 15 years. I mean, it's been a couple of decades now that both those have been maintained, so we should be fine.
yeah,
What if-
you've been maintaining
Since
the whole-
1985.
1985.
85,
which is
yeah.
50 years.
And and the southerly portion for decades prior to that.
seems,
Yeah.
seems
I mean,
weird
this
for us
is-
to come.
We're talking about Stage Road, which used to go from Queen's Store all the way up to West
Right.
Bolton, all the way to Underhill Center. I mean, it's been a road for
Long time.
a really long time.
Yeah.
Seems weird that we would, so buttoning up this portion makes sense because it's it's different than the rest of Stage Road. If we were to address the entire right of way on Stage Road on this parcel, seems like we would want to keep doing that for the entire road, right?
Me too.
So how does that, is there a benefit to doing that? I mean, I don't think we should spin up the entire machine of surveyors and lawyers, attorneys.
Yeah.
if there's no real benefit to the town or the property owners, so why don't we deal with just this little piece?
There's no live dispute, I'll grant you that.
Yeah.
And I don't see any benefit to the citizens of the town on that little wedge of land.
Yeah.
Across
Yeah,
the
exactly.
driveway. I mean, it's not like Cochran's Road or Dugway, I mean, where we might want some public parking or something. There's no need for that here.
And it's really an island anyway.
Yeah.
So, I think we should give it a green light for our attorney to say what's the sort of correct way to do this to. get
Yeah,
back to the
I
property.
agree. And I would say the correct way, part of the correct way would also be to make it the most congruent with the rest of Stage Road. I can't imagine the attorney will ever say, just give them the land back and let it exist. I mean, we don't want to spend so much time writing this ironclad easement for this and having no easement on the entire rest of the road. It just doesn't.
Right.
I mean, I'm not an attorney, so maybe there is legitimate reason to do that, but that doesn't, from a common sense standpoint, it doesn't make sense to have a quarter mile of this road be on paper and everything else just kind of exist on the ground.
Yeah, I mean,
So
it seems as though you gave something to the town and they chose not to use it for whatever reason.
Say it again, we gave something to the
You
town.
gave that little wedge of land to the town and they didn't end up using it, right?
well, the road's on it. The road's on it.
Okay,
Wedge,
I'm sorry. I'm upside down on that.
if we ever owned what was traded, wouldn't that make this whole thing and the quit claim deed? Something.
Okay, that was interesting.
Well,
Do we need a motion to send this to the city attorney or a town attorney?
As long as I got general
Yeah,
consensus at this point, we're fine. So what I'll do is I'll ask them to drop a deed so that, quitclaim deed, or wherever the actual vehicle is, to convey the road back to you. And I'll ask them that question about, do we need an easement for use of that road, considering the rest of Sage Road has no such easement? And maybe there's a good reason to, like you said, because of the unique history, maybe there's a reason to, but if there's not, because we've been maintaining that since 1985, maybe there's no reason to, and I'll ask them that question and then we'll come back at a future meeting.
I know
I'll have you guys review the docs as well.
Dave will hate this, but like, if we just quit claimed the land back and the road still exists, it's still adverse, we still
That's what I'm
have.
like, yeah.
I know that will never fly. The attorney will never say, just let him have it and figure it
Sure.
out on the law. But I mean, that's the entire rest of the road. That's how it exists right
I'm
now.
gonna ask that question. It's a good question. Yeah.
And then if we ever do decide to button it all up, at least it's all the same.
Yeah.
It's not however, what is it, 100, how long is it? A quarter mile, eighth mile?
it's about a half an acre. As far as
so it's
the
like-
length,
It's like 100 yards.
it's probably shown. that you-
1,500 feet.
Yeah.
And so.
I should mention one other thing. Actually, two things. One is the little island in between the two road segments. That's a little knoll. It's where Dan and I got married.
That's where all our dogs
are
are
buried.
buried.
Right, our dogs are buried. And the other thing I wanted to say, as long as Pete Goslin's on the line, I talked to Pete about the Green Mountain Power situation, but I haven't talked to Pete about this request today. And Pete is our lifeline, as you probably know, when you live on a road like we live on, Pete and his crew are pretty amazing at keeping our road good. Although the mud is a little bit bad right now, I have to say. Pete probably knows that. But I just would like to make sure that Pete is okay with this whole request or understands what we're asking for here and doesn't have any comments or concerns about it.
No, I think it's a legitimate request, and this is history that predates all of us, or, other than you two.
Except
So,
for us.
No, I think it's reasonable. I mean, let's get that squared away and straightened out. So, like you said, future owners won't have to deal with it.
Right. And I might add, actually, Pete, you just reminded me that I can't remember how many years ago it was, but another stretch of the road, not in this little strip, but down the road a ways, Pete put in a large culvert parallel to the road. You remember when you did that, Pete? And then you told me recently that you put some drainage under the road near where the mud near our house used to be. And
Yeah.
all of that's been done without easements and, you know, it just, Pete does it and it's fine. It makes things better. And
Yeah, it's done
And-
within the road right of way, so that's, you know, we have the rights to do that maintenance, so, yeah, it's, trying to solve big problems with, newer technology, so
Right.
it's been working.
and we
Let's see what
appreciate it.
let's see what the town attorney comes up with and we'll
Okay, thank you.
make something happen.
Thank you so
Thanks for your
much.
time.
Yeah, of course. See you again.
Today is my
Thanks for being-
birthday and that was a
Yeah.
very nice birthday.
Cool. I think.
Oh, happy birthday. Yeah.
Right,
Excellent.
right.
I don't think we had to do much, but you did all the legwork for us.
Yeah,
We didn't have to do much. You did all the legwork for us.
Well, it's something that's been kind of, you know, gnawing at me for a long time. I'm really glad we're finally doing something. Thank you.
thank you.
Pete, do you want to give us a synopsis or a bit on your summer work plan?
Sure. I'm assuming everybody's got a copy of this, the work plan for the 26 summer season. Oh, there it is right there. So March is, we haven't completed everything that was in the month of March because Mother Nature has not been working very well with us. The one item we did complete was the tree removal on Snipe Island Road. This is the first step in the grants and aid project on the last portion of Snipe Island Road. We finished that last week. We're going to start brush cutting. It's going to be probably mid-April by the time we get to that. Moving into April, so you know we're there now. We're going to start road grading Wednesday. We were going to start today, but we got snow tomorrow morning, so let's push things out again. There's been a lot of sickness in the highway department. I've been short 2 to 3 people for the last week due to the flu and pneumonia. So it's not been the greatest week. But hopefully we're going to get back on track here. So we have a sweeper scheduled that we've rented for the week of April 20th. So we're planning to do all the village sweeping, curb lines, and getting all that cleaned up. The following Monday, we have the Vector scheduled to suck out all the storm drains, which is all annual stuff that we have to do. We are going to start the Browns Court ball field parking lot tomorrow. So hopefully that's the rest of this week is the removal portion, and the following week we'll do the installation. So we're hoping by the end of next week that is complete, and then it can be opened for pickleball or whatever that schedule is. So we're trying to stay ahead of it, and the girls softball up there. So, so again, yeah, we're going to start grading roads. We're going to get that parking lot done. We're going to do our townwide brush cutting, which we always do in the spring before the foliage comes out. That'll take the whole month of April getting those items done. Then we move into May, which is pretty much like it is. We want to get all our line striping done. We restripe all the speed humps and the pre-warning markings. We put up the flags for the whole summer. And we got the fiscal year 26 gravel plan, which is from past July, which doesn't expire to the end of June. And that's shown right there. It's a resurfacing of Rogers Lane, the lower 1.5 miles of Stage Road, Lawrence Road, Grandview Drive, and Besaw Road. Then we move right into June. That's when our roadside mowing typically starts, first or second week in June, and it goes for like a good 3 months. Last year, our machine had a major catastrophe and it was down for the whole season. So we got to make up from last year. So the mower is going to probably be out till right into September, if not late September this year. Just letting you kind of know on that, but it has been repaired. It was done under warranty. So that was a great thing. The motor detonated itself. I was talking to David about that. So Massey Ferguson covered the repair on the engine and putting it all back together. So that was great. Where am I at? So in June, we're gonna start the grants and aid project on Upper Snipe Island Road. So that's the sections that we just cut all the trees off from, which we're gonna do a wood lottery, by the way. Josh can tell you more about that, but that's going to involve pulling all the stumps out, widening the road back out, and installing ditches both sides of the road, and installing 2 new cross culverts and rock armoring of the ditch. It's about a 600-foot long stretch of road. We got a grants and aid grant for this, which will cover all the materials very easily, and our labor and equipment will exceed that grant, so it'll more make up our match on this. That's going to be a project that really needed to get done. We have a very hard time trying to turn our truck around up there. It's narrow. We get stuck a lot. So this is going to give us ample width, a place for snow to get plowed into, not get pinched into certain sections of the road. So it's going to be a good upgrade. Then we move into July. We typically take our vacations around the 4th. Continuing on roadside mowing. We're hoping to finish up that grants and aid project in Snipe Island. And then we're looking at starting the Northwest Main Street sidewalk project. So that's from the Village Bicycle Shop down past the Catholic Church down to the end of West Main. That'd be the northern side. That entire section of concrete sidewalk is just completely shattered. It's gone. It's the last quarter piece left on Main Street to be done. It'll be the same spec that we did on East Main last year. It'll have the granite curb with a small green belt and then a brand new 60-inch concrete sidewalk with ADA mats, all in compliance with all the ADA standards. So, we've got a purchase order out there, which I think you're going to see tonight for the granite curbing for that project. So hopefully that all goes together well and we get a VTrans permit for that. It's all within the 4-rod right of way. Route 2 has a 4-rod right of way. Let's see.
Sorry there, Josh.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys are following me here down through here. So yeah, and then on rain days is when we typically haul in winter sand and do our stockpiling. So we don't take away from projects, that we need to be on. Instead of pulling trucks off a project, we're doing on those rain days, and that's the time to do that. Bring in your winter sand and excess materials that you need for projects. Grading, chloriding, of course, that continues throughout the whole summer as needed. And moving into August, keep roadside mowing. We're going to be continuing on the Northwest Main Street project. Hopefully we're pouring concrete by then. And then finishing up in September, that project. And again, hauling in sand on rain days. Then we move into October, which is our pre-preparation time for winter. So we get the rest of our stockpile of sand put in. We do a final grading on all the roads and get a good chloride put into them so they tighten up really well. We winterize the concession stand for the winter months, repair Volunteers Green for the winter, shutting down the roadway and pulling trash cans out that don't need to be down the ball field, stuff like that. Start preparing all our trucks and equipment for winter, going through the hydraulics, dealing with the live chains that are in the bodies and whatever maintenance that needs to be done. And then basically November, as we all saw, the winter typically starts. That's the way it was this year. So, we'll finish up anything that's left from the summer, a day here, day there, if the weather allows. And then we'll take the flags down after the Veterans Day observance. And that's kind of the summer in a nutshell. And there's always things that pop up, if we have, God forbid, washouts or major flooding or whatever, that just throws the whole plan out the door. So that's what happened in 23 and 24. So I don't know if anybody has any questions on that, but that's kind of the next 6-7 months right there.
Hi, Pete. One comment I'd like to make is we've gotten a lot of input from citizenry about the crosswalk striping and stuff down around Cochran's Road, Thompson's Road, Heinsberg Road, that intersection there that's been so fun to talk about, 4-way stop signs. So I just sort of want to maybe put in a pitch to make sure that all the sort of mapped striping happens there as part of your efforts here to stripe crosswalks and stuff.
Yeah, that's annual. We've been doing it every single year. I know I heard the comments that they said that we haven't done it. That's not true. We actually went to a thermoplastic style paint, which supposedly has a longer life to it. What happens with any traffic markings, especially something like that, a pedestrian crossing, 50% of it wears off through the winter months. You're running plows over it. You're running studded tires on it. doesn't last 12 full months. So you freshen it up every spring, and that's just what we do. I mean, that's what pretty much all towns and cities do. But that's been a regularly scheduled item that we have done for, gosh, many years I've worked here. So
I believe you. I've seen you do it. I just
Yeah.
want to silence your critics and
Oh no. Hey, listen, I had my own comments about that intersection and that got shot down. So it's always going to be some of that, and you got to expect that. So, but yeah, I got it in print that it's on the plan, so it's going to happen. So
thanks.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Looks like a great plan. Hopefully the weather cooperates so we can stick to it.
I'm hoping.
Yeah. And flooding.
Yeah, it's part of the weather, right?
Yeah.
They want to name it by name, Bart.
It's like Voldemort.
Yeah.
Can't say it out loud.
Can't say that out loud. Thank you, Pete.
Thank you, Pete.
Next we have consideration of approving a letter of intent for the grant and aid program for financial assistance with stormwater projects on municipal roads. So do you want to, Josh, you want to give us a synopsis or?
Sure. I mean, we got Pete, he could jump into, but this is all related to our municipal roads general permit, which is the permit that says we have to treat stormwater on municipal roads. So this is $21,000 estimated that will go towards that budget that Pete does a great job of every year, picking a few sections and working on them. So it really helps us do a little bit more with our budget.
No.
And this is a non-competitive grant. Everybody, there's a slot for every town in Vermont. Everybody gets some money as long as you put your letter of intent in.
Awesome.
Be fools not to.
So along those lines, would someone like to make?
So this is Bart. I move to approve the letter of intent for the grant and aid program as presented.
This is David. I'll second.
All those in favor?
Bart, aye.
Greg, aye. David, aye.
Adam, aye. Hopefully we get that one.
Fingers crossed.
Next we have consideration of approving grant applications for VTrans Municipal Highway Class 2 roadway paving grant and the VTrans Municipal Highway Structures grant. These are competitive grants, right?
These are.
And we have received the paving grant 2 years in a row now.
Yeah, there was extra money last year, so they gave us a little bit more. So people were able to do more with that. And then we keep submitting. We had a great sit down with Jim Coder from the state. He's got a great spreadsheet that he puts together as far as who's received what grant, what year, how long the gap has it been, what percentage of road do they have in the overall scheme of all the roads that they fund. So he really tries his best to keep this very fair and equitable between everybody. So Pete, I'll let you talk through the paving and the structures grant a little bit more if you want.
Yeah, I mean, Josh hit it pretty well. Every year I always apply for both these grants. They have a $200,000 cap. It's an 80-20, so we got to match it with 20%. But these are big grants, and they really help us. This first one Josh put up is the Class 2 roadway. I put this together because this goes in conjunction with the water project that's getting ready to start on the south side of the Bridge Street Iron Trust Bridge going up to Cochrane Road and down Cochrane Road. We're going to be digging up one whole lane, basically from the water house all the way to the Cochrane Road intersection, and then continuing all the way down almost to the cemetery, to the last house down there. So the road's going to have major disruption. That's the reason why the road hasn't been repaid, because we've been waiting for this project to happen. It's going to involve multiple, crossings across the road to service houses with new services. So the road's going to be completely destroyed, basically. The contractor has to patch the road back as part of the project. So this grant, if we were to get it, it intersects two roads, two Class 2 highways. So Bridge Street, Huntington Road is Town Highway number 1, and Cochrane Road is Town Highway number 3. So this is great that we sat down with Jim Coda, because I asked him this direct question, if we could include two separate town highways in a project, and would the funding cover it for two? And he did say it would. And then I went even a little bit further. I said, well, what about the utilities that are in the paving, like all the manhole structures? Because we're gonna mill the road out and lower it down. Some of those manholes all have to be readjusted and torn apart. And he said it's in that road, it's covered. So if you look through the itemized things, I broke it all down by square yard, tonnage, whatnot, and I put the whole write up together. Looking to do this summer 27. So this is a 24-month grant. If we were to be awarded this grant, we wouldn't even get it till the end of May of this year. So we would have 2 years to use it. So it would kind of tie in well to get this water project done this year, 26. Let it ride through the winter, freeze thaw cycle, and then 27 do the final surface on it. Mill it all out, put everything back correctly at the right elevations, reinstall 3 new speed humps on Cochrane Road because they're going to get torn out. So this is how I wrote it up, and I estimated it at 212 total project cost. The grant max is 200, and I broke down the funding underneath there, the 80-20. Our likelihood of getting this is pretty low because, like Josh says, we just received 2 in a row. But you got to keep applying. You just got to keep asking. You never know, because something happens financially in a town that got approval on something, and this is what happened on Jericho Road. All of a sudden, they had this money to allocate to another town. So if we're ready for it, hey, we'll take it. So that's kind of how I wrote this Class 2 roadway grant up.
Great. Want to go over the structures portion for us too?
Absolutely. Yeah, so structures it's the same program, but it's 36-inch diameter culverts and larger. That's what qualifies here. And it includes anything from the guardrails that are part of that structure to head walls to anything that deals with that drainage crossing. I've been trying since 2018 to get this one culvert upsized on Stage Road. We've had it engineered, we've had a hydraulic study. In all those years that I've been applying, we have now lost Stage Road twice due to this one culvert, both 23 and 24 at the cost of 250 to 300,000 each time. So just the damage downstream from that is what I'm saying. Thankfully, FEMA covered, the 75 or 80% of that, but still we lost the road pretty majorly. So it's I think it'll have a very high ranking this year due to the number of years that it's been since we've gotten a structures grant. You're looking at this one. This is almost a $500,000 project. This is obviously a contracted price. So if we were to get this project or get this grant, we could look at this and this may become an in-house town project. We could probably cut that right in half, but there's other ways to do it. But it's critical that this thing gets done because we've had 2 major losses because of this location. This is probably the weakest spot in town as far as the drainage goes. So that's why I've applied. This is since 1890. This is the 8th time applying for this. So
Or do, I would hope.
I think so. I hope so. Gosh, yeah.
And you've got some practice with these larger culverts now, thinking of Beat Saw and Hillview. You've done a good job with these 5-10 foot culverts.
This one's quite bigger. This is a 12-foot wide by 9 feet high arch pipe, which the pipe is not difficult to put in. I mean, obviously it's going to be a road closure, but there's poured in place head walls, which is a separate item, which you gotta bypass, pump the brook and things like that. It's all doable stuff. We know how to do it. It's just, it's going to be a big project if we take it on. It'll be our only project for that year. But if we can do this thing and we could get funding for it, I think we should do it because it's critical. If we get another event like we had in 23, 24, we're just sitting ducks again to have major loss downstream from it. So, and all this stuff ends up in Jones Mill, which is another issue. So all the more reason to get this thing stabilized, to get it fixed.
Great. Thank you, Pete.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So any questions from the board? No. We would need to approve the submission of both grants.
And there is a few other pieces. We have to approve a TA 60, which certifies our budget is, I think they want to make sure we're $300 per mile of road, which we definitely have that. They also use that for some state funding. If there's ever a disaster that's not covered by FEMA, they sort of look at your non-winter budget and they base everything that would be like above that amount. So there's some usage of that going forward. And then there's also a certificate of compliance of town road and bridge standards that we certify that we comply with the state standards. So those are both included in the packet and included in the motion.
So Adam, this is David. I move to approve Form TA 60, the Certificate of Compliance for Town, Road, and Bridge Standards, and to apply for the structures and highway paving grants, and to name Pete Goslin as the grant program manager.
I'll second that motion.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Art, aye.
Greg? Aye.
David, aye.
Adam, aye. Thank you, Pete.
Good luck.
Appreciate the update and
Thank
good
you.
luck with the grants.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Pete.
All right.
Next, we have consideration of selecting a contractor for grounds maintenance. We put this out to bid annually, correct?
We do. You want me to give you a little bit of a history?
Yeah.
Sure.
So we started this, so grounds maintenance is basically a lot of mowing and the general grounds maintenance, Volunteers Green, Round Church Green, the Round Church Sledding Hill, the Town Center grounds. What am I forgetting? Brown's Court, the green stripes on the sidewalks. I think there's a few other things out the cemeteries. How can I forget the cemeteries? The cemeteries as well. So this used to all be done by the highway department. We had two guys, I think, that would work pretty much nonstop all winter long or all summer long to take care of these things. In 2021, Pete said, "Hey, look, in 2022, I want to try to focus my crew on highway projects and work on culverts, work on stone line ditching, work on the gravel plan, work on the paving plan." So we started at that point to outsource this bidding or this work. So we've gone out to bid. So in 2022, going forward, we've gone out to bid on this. We haven't always selected the lowest bidder, so I'll sort of give a little bit of a walkthrough. In 2022, we went with Strom Properties. You can see the highlighted ones here is the one we went with. There were some concerns that the two lower bidders did not fully understand the size of the job. I know we did some follow-ups to make sure, like 15 grand, are you sure? So we had some concerns about the potential quality of work on those contractors based on their pricing and the size of the job. So we went with Strom. In 2023, we went with Mow and Maintain. They were the second to lowest bidder by $415. As I recall, we selected Mow and Maintain because they had a larger staff. They were located closer to Richmond. And they had done a good job, and they did a good job and were responsive to feedback from the town and the cemetery commission. In 2024, you can see that Mow and Maintain was selected again. There were two lower bids, one by about $6,000, one by $1,000. There were some concerns about quality of work from some reference checks of one of the bidders, and Mow and Maintain had done a great job in the prior year, so we decided to stick with them again. In 2025, there were three bidders. There were three bids lower than Mow and Maintain by about $6,000, $1,000, and $500. Again, one of them, I know we had some concerns about quality of work. We did look back at the last 2 years of Mow and Maintain, seeing that they've done a great job and been really responsive to feedback from the town. So again, selected them even though they weren't the lowest bidder. This year, I think I've got these lined up in lowest to highest orders. So our lowest is L&D Property Maintenance at $34,770. Then Mow and Maintain at $35,000, just a couple $100 higher. Strom Properties is tied with Mow and Maintain at $35,000. And then Lund is at $36,000, and Freddie's Lawn Care and Snow Plowing is at $36,500. So those are the just low 500 bidders, fairly close grouping of pricing.
So Adam, general policy and good practice is to choose the lowest bidder. And anybody that knows me knows that I'm cheap, but I'm also fiscally aware. And for a difference of $230 on a $35,000 bid, common sense would tell me that we would be foolish to try to save $230 with a new contractor when we've had 4 successful years with an existing contractor. Even the quality of work aside, which, I would argue they've earned our business, for $230, the learning curve would be a lot more expensive, bringing a new contractor in and up to speed. So I rarely say this, and I think in future years you can come back and point to that one time when I said to do this. I think it would make sense to not go with the low bidder, but to go with mow and maintain again this year and accept that bid. And again, that's because they've worked really hard to do a good job and have done well by us. And I think for $230, it's money well spent to go with a tried, tested, true contractor and continue that good working relationship.
Any other thoughts? I can't foresee changing contractors over even a couple $1,000, never mind $230. I think it's good that we bid this out as a gut check, but as you pointed out, there is a learning curve, and there's something to be said for having someone that's consistent and just gets the job done, and we don't have to worry about it. So,
Well, they knocked $1,000 off their price from last year, so it's not like
I'm
they
gonna point
didn't
out
look at this deal.
our pricing has generally been on a downward trajectory or a level trajectory over 4 or 5 years now, which is not what I would expect in a lot of situations.
This shows me they really want it, and
And you got the efficiency dialed in, can do it quick enough to still make money on it. So
Well, the few things that have happened.
I think we have a mow and maintain.
Yeah, so my
Down
name's
here.
Nick. I own Mow and Maintain. I've been doing town for 3 years. So the reason I actually lowered it this year is because I got a mower that's more efficient for the volunteer green that's there. It's a tri mower. It's 117 inches. And it can mow the park quicker. It's gonna help out the park, just be better cut, make it quicker for everybody. So that way we're in and out of there before like baseball teams get there and just making it quicker for everybody that's in there and more simple. Shoot it out of the back instead of shoot it out of the side shoots. So
Oh, cool.
good on you.
Great. And then this also includes Brown's Court too, right?
Yep.
So that mower helps out there too. Get it wrapped
And
up.
it's worth mentioning, all the feedback I've received has been positive. And there have been a couple little hiccups, and we've reached out to Mow and Maintain, and it was addressed very quickly.
I mean, anytime we have, how many people are there in Richmond? 4,200 customers and 5 properties. I think there's bound to be a few small hiccups. So if they're remedied quickly, that's not I think that actually speaks to the
quality
in the relationship. Yeah, sounds good. So we would need a motion.
As Bart, I move to award the grounds maintenance to mow and maintain.
Adam, this is David. I'll second.
Any more discussion? No. All those in favor?
Bart, aye.
Greg, aye.
David, aye.
Adam, aye. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now my kids are gonna bug me to get a bigger mower too, and they sit that thing down there.
I know, I always stop for the kids. I love seeing them. So,
Yeah.
so thank you guys. Have a good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I was wondering the reasons.
Next we have consideration of approval of local emergency management plan. This is an update to the.
Yeah, it's an
previous
annual
plan, right?
update.
So is there any changes? What were our changes?
Yeah, so really, I'll share the screen quick. It's really just making sure that all the inventories and contacts are correct and current. And this goes on file with the state, and it's actually part of receiving additional money from the state in the event of a flood. The state always kicks in. So FEMA pays 75%, and then the state kicks in an additional percentage. And this gets us a few extra percentage points by having a local emergency plan in place. It's also helpful during an emergency, which is its main goal. So as you scroll down here, it talks about, who the staff members are for the Emergency Operations Center. So myself, Duncan, we got Adam as the select board chair, Jerry as the fire chief, the town clerk, and finance director. And it's similar things we go through here, look at our primary location for the EOC is a town center. What does it have available? internet, phone line, computers, what's the alternate locations, what resources are owned by the city or the town in the event of a flood or emergency, what businesses can we reach out to? So we've got, trash businesses, home supply businesses, excavation businesses. And this is, we've utilized this list a couple of times now with the flooding. But it's good to go through and make sure everything is fresh and up to date. Let's see, how are we going to warn people using Front Porch Forum, newspapers, television, radio. So it's really sort of a guidebook of communications and resources during an emergency. And every year it's updated. So as you scroll down here to the end too, we've got a number of contacts, key people in the town and the state to reach out to for resources during an emergency. And just come back to the board every year to get the approval to submit this back to the state.
Great. Thank you for updating this. Where is this posted, Josh? If anyone's wondering.
I don't think I actually post it anywhere publicly, but it's something that I keep, and in the event of emergency, we pull it out, we are able to utilize it.
Is it like distributed to different departments? Like does fire department, Pete and all them have one, or?
You know what? I don't think I have, but I will make sure I do that. It's a good idea.
What was that? Go down a little bit. Great.
Right.
Do we need to approve it?
Need a motion to approve it, and there's a signature page that you need to sign.
I move to approve the local emergency management plan.
I'll second that motion. This is Greg.
All those in favor?
Art, aye.
Greg, aye.
David, I.
Adam, aye.
Thank you, Josh.
That wraps up the meat and potatoes of our regular meeting. We have minutes and purchase orders and warrants left.
I move to approve the minutes from the March 16th meeting.
This part, I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Art, aye.
Greg, aye.
David, I.
Adam, aye. We would need March 31st minutes also.
Adam, this is Greg. I move that we approve the March 31st, 2026 minutes.
Second.
No, this is David. I'll second.
All those in favor?
Art, aye.
Greg, aye.
David, I.
Go make a phone call.
Adam, abstain. Wasn't here that day, so I'm not going to vote on him. Oh, you want to pull up these? Oh, wow, you're way ahead of us.
Every now and again, I get there. Tonight's been a good computer night.
This is a purchase order that covers the sum we pay as a town to the water district for providing water and the kind of opportunity cost of having water available for fire protection. This is an annual fee, correct?
Correct.
Entertain a motion to approve purchase order 5306.
Adam, this is David. I move to approve purchase order number 5306 to the town of Richmond Water Department for fire protection in the amount of $37,488.
Mr. Chair, this is Greg. I will second that motion.
All those in favor?
Greg, aye.
David, I.
Adam, aye.
Mr. Chair, this is David. I move to approve purchase order number 5311 to M&T Wellington Trust for the Millet Street loan for the highway portion, which amounts to $7,046.26.
Adam, this is Greg. I second that motion.
All those in favor?
Greg, aye.
David, I.
Adam, aye.
Adam, this is David. I move to approve purchase order number 5312 to the county of Chittenden for the 2026 county tax in the amount of $29,649.
This is Greg. I will second that motion.
All those in favor?
Greg, aye.
David, I.
Adam, aye.
Adam, this is David. I move to approve purchase order 5373 to Swenson Granite Company, LLC for granite curbing in the amount of $24,198.
I will second that motion. This is Greg.
All those in favor?
Greg, aye.
David, I.
Adam, aye.
Adam, this is David. I move to approve the use of $3,800 from the Town Center Reserve Fund to pay Alpha Elevator Company for repairs to the elevator at the Richmond Free Library.
This is Greg. I will second that motion.
We've approved so many of these. It feels like we would have put a dent in a new elevator by now. I know elevators are extremely expensive, and so that's
Yeah,
probably
they are.
the case.
Wasn't there like an $8,000 one a couple months ago?
Yeah, that was for the parts for this same repair.
This is just the
They had
this is
two
just the
guys on
labor.
site, I think, for 4 hours to get the repair done.
What was wrong with it?
Let's see.
I'm not questioning that it was broken.
Yeah,
What the?
no, it was something with they hung the elevator shaft, installed staging in the hoistway, removed the old packaging and check valve, installed new packaging and check valve. There was also, I think, something to do with the control panel, control board on it. So some electrical items as well as some alignment, it sounds like. Yeah, these elevators.
It's just killing us.
Yeah, and the thing that really kills you is look at the labor rate, $475. And there's like two companies that do elevators. And
So how long were the guys there for 8 hours?
it was two people for 4 hours each. For total 4 hours.
It's quite the upcharge.
There are neurosurgeons who don't.
Like I am
this well.
broadly support labor rights, and I think that unions serve an important part in
point.
maintaining the integrity of the workforce in our country. This is obscene.
Well, I mean, I'm
But-
sure there's,
Like, what the?
I'm sure part of that goes back towards the overhead for the company as well, for insurance and parts and things
Yeah, I
like
mean,
that.
If I'm not mistaken, a lot of these guys come up from
It's like from
the Boston area. They're not necessarily
Southern
resident
New
here in Vermont.
That's it,
So that's what covers drive time and all that.
like that, so.
Yeah, I guess ultimately for two guys to be trained to work on an elevator for half a day, that's actually not.
The elevator business, though, we looked into repairing the floor, replacing like the linoleum floor in this elevator. It was multiple thousands of dollars. And I'm like, it's a linoleum
Can
floor.
we just get someone to do that with normal?
Well, but there's special codes and standards for the elevator. So you have to like, and that's part
That's
of,
what they say.
I know.
But we've, every project I ever did, we got rid of the standard option to put our own floor in.
Did you?
I can do it for $100.
David, you're hired.
Usually put granite tile down or something like that. It just is hard to wear out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's a lot to these elevators.
Anyway.
It's frustrating and it's expensive.
So
on that?
all those in favor?
Yeah.
Clark, aye.
Good Greg, I.
David, aye.
Adam, aye.
I understand.
Adam, this is David. Move to approve the warrants as presented.
Give it a second.
Greg, I will second.
All those in favor? Art, aye.
Greg, I.
David, aye.
Adam, aye. Items for next agenda. I have ACFC management plan feedback, but that's probably 2 agendas from now. Or do we want to discuss?
As far as communication,
We can discuss the plan for feedback when the management plan comes out, or we can just wait till they present it to us. And
yeah, I was gonna wait until he came.
so
to
that's
me and
not,
said, "We're ready
that's
to
not
talk
next
about
meeting.
it."
That'll be about a month from now.
Probably.
Also, same thing a month from now, we have discussion with Chief Cohen. So for next meeting, I guess we have nothing.
Yeah, take the night off.
We're good.
I am sure we'll get 5 to
Hopefully, we have an
15
update from
days.
Andres.
Yeah. I'll
So
see. I'll
with
reach out to him.
that,
about that. There is always
maybe a stage road update if we have anything, but if we don't, then don't bother.
Yeah, I'll see. Of course, if we have an update, I'll get John.
Anything, it sounds like an open meeting. Any policies we want to tackle proactively?
I'm just going to throw out that I had to take a meal over to a friend earlier tonight. Brought me over to Texas Hill Road, coming up from the Heinsberg side, where they have taken out that sweeping curve by the trailer park and turned it into a 4-way stop.
Yeah.
And it's aesthetically very pleasing. It's obviously very effective at slowing traffic down. And people who live up on Texas Hill Road are very happy with it.
Really?
And, it's the closest analog to what we're trying to do here but they reworked the geometry of that road so it comes to a proper 4-way stop.
Yeah.
And
Took out the curve.
used to be by the time, I'm heading over to Heinsberg, I'd go around that corner at warp speed. I think everybody did.
A couple times I had a close call because the person who was supposed to stop didn't.
I've had the same thing or coming, we lived in Heinsberg for like 10 months while we were working on our house with our in-laws, and it would come back every morning in like dark both directions, and you coming up and turning left at that. And people a couple times would come off of Texas Hill through the stop sign and then kind of just straight.
Yeah.
It's like, so the four-way is, again, this is always my people are like, oh, it takes so long. Like, well, it's like a good 5 to 7 seconds longer, and it has avoided multiple almost head-on collisions. So like personally, I'm fine with that. But
So we will have an update because the vote is next Thursday.
oh yeah,
We'll have an
Talk
update
about
on the
that.
result of the vote and next step.
So either next steps, either with or without stop signs.
You got it.
And else you want to put on there? Guess that's it.
I'm sure there'll be something.
For a motion to adjourn.
We need a motion to adjourn.
Adam, this is Greg. I move that we adjourn the select board meeting.
Adam, this is David. I will second.
All those in favor?
Art, aye.
Greg, aye.
And can I just say, getting through a 2-page agenda in 2 hours and 15 minutes is quite the feat.
Not bad.
All right. Are you in favor of adjourning?
I am.
This is Adam. I am also in favor of adjourning.
Did Greg and Bart vote?
They did.
I missed
Oh,
it.
yeah.
They voted and then you hopped in with
Editorial.
a flagrant.